All right. So it evolved. Um, it was rejected due to the objectivity defining the soul. It was very difficult to define the soul. He said people are constituted of body atoms and soul atoms. That means we have a body and then we have a soul. That's what Democritus was saying. And that's why he said psychology should be the study of soul or the science of soul. Psych logos, soul science. Or, yeah, psych logos, soul science. So it was rejected because people could not really define what the soul is. That is under what we call the faith study. Is under what we call the faith study. So as time progressed, some philosophers questioned the nature of soul. How can soul be objectively defined? Therefore, we had another definition, okay, for psychology. We had another definition for psychology with disserters who claimed that an individual is made up of body and mind. Psychology took another meaning as the science of mind. So now they move from the science of soul to the science of mind. Wow, okay. And the definition of psychology remained vogue for a very long time because people could not really define what psychology was. Okay, so it remained um, in vogue for a very long time. However, the same question resurfaced again. How can the mind be objectively defined and studied? The same way they objected the soul. How can the soul be objectively defined and studied? Mhm. How can the hmm, how can the mind, all right, be objectively defined and studied? So the definition was described by philosophers. Then psychology was defined as the science of consciousness on the basis that human beings are conscious of their external environment. Thence, we now brought about the science of consciousness based on the ideas that humans are conscious of their external environment. But this was rejected because consciousness is considered a negligible portion of a total personality and cannot be objectively studied. So we cannot objectively study consciousness. Okay? We cannot objectively study consciousness. We cannot objectively study consciousness. Unit 3, Psychology of Education. Yes, that's what we're doing in Edu 111, Caleb. So we cannot objectively study consciousness. So this now brought about the modern definition of psychology. You see that these people and these scientists were moving on dancing along with psychology and psychology and psychology because it's not something that can be defined. So um, the definition of consciousness could not really be um, could not really be established because it cannot be objectively studied. Okay, so philosophers claim that consciousness cannot be objectively studied by absorbing an individual's activity. So how do you study consciousness? Do you know that there are things sorry, excuse me, there are things that when you do deeply, do you know that there are things that when you do actually you don't know that you're doing them. Those are what we call the subconscious. You just act. There are things that are already registered in your subconscious that you don't even know you're doing them. All you just know is that you're acting. You just act. Then before you know it, you start asking yourself, how did I get here? Or how am I doing all these things? Your subconscious is working. Your subconscious is acting, and all these things are reprogrammable. You can reprogram your subconscious by the words you hear. That's how it is. But then, since we cannot study this conscious mind and soul, then they moved to the science of behavior. A great history was made in the 19th and 20th centuries concerning the development of psychology as an independent discipline, with the German and American philosopher psychologists, psychology was detached from philosophy and given a new definition and system of approach. So they removed it from philosophy because philosophy is a very wide range. We've talked about philosophy before. We know how wide it is. So philosophy is a very big, broad side of science. So, philosophy goes deep down into speculative, prescriptive, and analytical, and it's very, very deep. So the philosophy was given a new definition and system of approach. Hence, psychology was defined as a science of behavior. Now, behavior can objectively be studied, it can be observed, it can be verified, it can be measured in a systematic manner. In fact, in a scientific way, you can study behavior. Therefore, they said the science of behavior became the real modern definition of psychology. So, psychology is now defined as the study of individuals' behavior, which consists of overt actions that can be observed, verified, measured, and studied systematically. When I say systematically, I mean scientifically. Okay, so let us mm, let's move to the second one. In the second part of your unit 3, it talks about the branches of psychology. It talks about the branches of psychology. Psychology is subdivided into many branches, including general, human, animal, clinical, social, and industrial psychology. I'm going to send that now. One second. Branches of psychology. Okay. All right. Oh, come on. Branches of psychology and educational psychology. Okay. Uh, Hold on a minute. I just typed this. Let me edit that. So the first one we have is the educational psychology, which is defined as the branch of psychology that deals with the application of psychological theories, findings into the field of education. So we apply psychology in education. That's what it means. Applying psychology in education. So the scope of educational psychology, which we're going to be looking at because that's mainly why we're here. Educational psychology, right? But there are many branches. There's general psychology, human psychology, animal psychology, genetic psychology. Okay, so we'll be looking at the scope of psychology. Let me see. Let me just edit this. I think I didn't type this well. We have the learning process according to your units. Please understand that every information I give to you is from your unit, just so you can know it according to your course material. All right, so I think I've been able to break that down. I just edited that for you. Okay, so now we're going to be dealing with educational psychology. So we have abnormal psychology, we have social psychology, we have experimental psychology, we have physiological psychology, we have industrial, military, clinical, environmental, evolutionary psychology. So many aspects of psychology. All right, so many aspects. I'm actually studying one. I'm studying child psychology. I think no, I finished child psychology. I'm studying the next one, which is psychology itself. So uh, now, educational psychology. Educational psychology is defined as the branch of psychology that deals with the application of psychological theories, that is, findings, into the field of education. Now, what are the scope of educational psychology? The scope is focused on three main areas: learner, someone who is studying the learner's developmental characteristics, meaning that if you're going to be moving into the scope of educational psychology, you need to study who is learning. For instance, the student. You're studying the student's developmental characteristics. You're studying the student's individual differences, intelligence, personality, and mental health. So, in order for you to have educational psychology, it means that the children are in good hands. That's the meaning. That the children are in good hands. Okay, I think GST. What we did on Monday was what? So it means that the children or the learners are in good hands for you to be able to GST 101. Let me see. Publish. All right, I just posted your Monday class, the class we did had on Monday. All right. So, um, what was I even saying? Okay. Yes, I was talking about learner. Studying the learner's developmental characteristics, individual characteristics, intelligence, personality, and mental health. Now, the next thing you're going to study under educational psychology is the learning process. So, how are they learning? What's the process? Investigating learning theories, things that motivate students to learn, factors that affect learning, like rewards, punishments, class size, teacher expectations, and interaction. Some students need a lot of interaction with their teacher. If you don't interact well with them, sometimes a student might message you, a student might need your attention, and you don't give it to the student. All right? How is this going to motivate the student? Okay? How can you motivate the student to do better? Not helping them do their assignments or whatever, no, but putting them in a position where they can be self-independent. They can be able to learn and process by themselves. Now that's one of the best gifts you can give to them. So, can you investigate learning theories? Different learning theories. Can you investigate that? Can you investigate motivation? Can you learn about factors that affects learning? Do you know the kinds of rewards you give to students that's going to boost their learning process? Do you know the kind of punishment you give to students that's going to boost their learning process? Do you know if it's the class size? Some students like class size to be minimal, just few, while some want a large space. They need noise, they need attention. Do you know if it's the teacher expectations that are limiting the students or boosting their learning process? Most times the teacher is expecting everybody to, oh, I need you guys to have finished this part by this time to this time. I need you to have finished all your units, study all the summary. I need you to follow up. I need you to be, on point. I need you to follow up and all that. Do you know um, the learning process? Teacher expectations can be part of the learning process. It can be part of the factors that are affecting learning or the interaction. What kind of interaction do you have? What kind of interaction does an educator have with his learners? Okay, are the interactions harsh? Are they mild? Are they gentle? Are they disciplined? What kind of interactions? and diagnosis of learning problems. So now, the scope of educational psychology also talks about evaluation, focusing on the evaluation of learning outcomes and the use of statistical methods in research related to educational theory and practice. Research related to educational theory and practice. That's how we evaluate how a learner should be placed. The learning outcome of a learner is through this evaluation and it's through research of educational theory and practice. There was a time I was dealing research on why children lie. I came to the conclusion after interviewing close to 50 students and running a research in various multiple areas of the state. It's because of fear. Children lie because they fear. That was the conclusion. Because they fear. And why do they fear? They fear that when they say the truth, it's going to get them in trouble. That's the fear. Because normally we are taught that the truth shall set you free according to how they quote it or preach. But what parents show children is that the truth gets them punished, not rewarded. Now you can punish them, correct. You can punish them, yes. But you need to understand that they need um they have you need to understand or make them understand that you're punishing them for what they did wrong, but you're embracing them for the truth. You can tell them, thank you for telling me the truth, but next time don't do this or else you'll be grounded. Next time don't do this or else you'll be grounded. Thank you for telling me the truth. You can give
Hello,
a
sir.
warning. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, this is Philip talking, sir. I want to ask a question. Why is it that if you don't tell the truth, you are being punished? But if you tell the lie, you're a good, you're a professional liar, not by practice. But, but why is it that many people tell lies, they are more praised than people that tell the truth? Because where you are going to, and just pointing to that place, and people begin to bully you and some other stuff if you're not telling them the truth. But if you are telling them lie, they tend to believe you, especially in Nigerian politics. Why?
Yes, especially in Nigeria politics. You're very correct.
Yes.
And it all starts from our families. It all starts from the home. If you tell your parent the truth, they might nearly break your head. You see, before you can tell the person the truth, I do encourage all my students and all my members, STEM club members, students I have across everywhere. I do tell them one thing. Please speak to me. I'm open. Even how, no matter how bad it is, probably you don't like the way I communicated with you. I have students that have entered my DM and say you were not around and we didn't get your present and all that. You would have told us you're not going to appear, you're not going to show up. You would have informed us or put something on your status. You just disappeared. I don't like that. And yeah, a student was telling me that. Yes, of course. And I was able to absorb it. Now, the thing is that to parent, it all starts from our home. It all starts from the home because every one of them or every one of these politicians you feel all came from the home. The family institution is one of the biggest institutions that when affected, it affects the entire nation. So how does the home operate? It's very simple. When they tell the truth, instead of the truth should set them free, your parents will rather break your head. If people are not matured to absorb the truth, then they don't deserve the truth. What they need are lies. Be-
So you continue to play along with them and
That's what politics is all about.
But but in the Bible they said anybody that lies will go to fire. All of you will go to fire as well if you keep
madam,
on lying.
madam, use spiritual aspects when you are talking about physical aspects.
Sir,
You know,
it's
we in Africa, yeah, we tend to go so much any little things on the we are too much spiritual in Africa, but we fail to face the reality when it comes to normal stuff. But in other countries, like I'm sorry to say, uh, in Africa, if somebody died, they say who killed him. But in all these enlightened countries, they will ask what killed him. So the way of ideology and manner this thing is different. So that's why I'm just happy where he might have
There are people
to.
that are not, there are people that are not matured enough for the truth. And people who are not matured enough for the truth, you can't tell them the truth because they don't have that maturity for it. I don't care if they're 51 or they're 72. I
Mm,
don't care how old they are.
mm.
But if they don't have
Even I don't even care if they are Geo,
at all,
if they are even Geos.
there are some people when you tell the truth, they expose it because they don't have the maturity to contain that information. They don't have that maturity.
But but they still say it, like our pastor will say, no matter what, please say the truth. We still have to tell them the truth, even though they can't see
All right,
to
so
take it.
let me get to your point from the pastoral aspect. Even Jesus Christ, after performing miracles, told people that he performed those miracles on, do not tell anyone this.
So that means if they tell them, that means that time is not yet the exact time for them to tell them. So they should
Exactly.
have to conceal some things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
tell
yeah,
them the truth
yeah,
as
yeah,
of that point because
yeah.
if you tell them
So
the truth,
so
they can't contain it. They're not matured enough. What I'm
Mm.
saying,
so by
yeah,
the time they're asking you that question, so what are you going to tell them?
you
Will you
avoid the
like
question. You avoid the
that?
question. They call it a lawyer's dodge. You avoid the question.
That's the thing. How will you avoid it? It's not possible. It's very okay.
It's
Fine.
better for you to keep quiet and debunk the question and say when you have
Exactly.
the time you come back to them.
Push it to another
That's it.
What if the
aspect.
person is actually face to face, like you guys are seeing each other like this? How will you avoid that
Who
one?
is the person?
Ah,
Is he your father or your mother? Is the
it's not
person
all questions you
Let's
need to answer
is the
now.
person going
yes,
to put
let's say
knife
that
on
our
your
father.
throat? And you
Our father, your
as
father.
as of that moment you do not know because you know he is not matured to handle the truth. You know he's going to break your head. So why will you tell him the truth when you're not going to be free?
Okay, okay. Let's take for instance an instance whereby there are two lover birds. So one of them got pregnant, and at the moment you are still under the this thing. So the highest thing is if you don't want him to see you, you can look for a way of distancing yourself. And later you just tell him, Daddy, this. So if he feels he cannot do it, if he cannot do it, everything will sort itself out when the time comes. So life is just like bus stop now. You move from one bus stop to another.
It depends on the
So
person.
that's just
It depends on the person you're with.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you see a person is highly intelligent, or people who are highly intelligent or who are educated or have studied things of psychology, they can handle the truth. They know how to handle the truth. They know how to get the truth and they absorb the truth and process information. They calm down. They are not fast to anger. People who react
Mm,
to every word that they hear immediately, they just react. They don't know how to evaluate. They are not educators. Naturally, all humans should be educators because we're passing a message to the next generation or to the next person.
mm,
So they don't know how to evaluate information or process information, and you're releasing information to such a person. They can't contain it. And because they can't contain such
mm,
amount of information, they burst in their brain, they burst mentally. And that burst is going to cause plenty reactions like anger, you know, physical touch or whatever. And then it might land on you that said the truth as of that time.
mm,
There'll be time for the truth. But if you see the person is not matured enough, avoid the person or avoid telling the person the truth. Because not every when I did the research on why children lie and why teenagers lie, it was all concluded to one thing: fear. Fear. The reason is because the truth in reality, in spiritually it sets you free. In reality, it deals the hell out of you. That's what it does. In reality, the truth actually deals the hell out of you.
All right, so
Yeah. So that's the evaluation. Okay, so now let's move into the contributions of psychology to education. What are the contributions? Okay, the contributions um, of psychology to education. What are the main contributions? The main contributions. Right now that we know the branches of educational psychology, let's talk about the contributions. I'm going to just drop that here.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so now
Uh,
the
sorry, sir.
contributions, yes. Hmm.
Sorry, sir.
Hmm.
In that this thing, when you are typing contributions of psychology to education, there is a typographical error there. Still should be there in the first this thing, sir.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you omitted that.
Yeah, I was
Sorry
typing.
for stressing you.
I was typing a bit fast. 1 second.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Thank you, Caleb. All right, so now contributions are viewed from two facets. The first is the contribution to theory of education. The second is contribution to practice of education. Now, psychology provides teachers with foundational knowledge to one, understand the developmental characteristics of learners to effectively impart instructions and mold behavior. Now, one thing that they teach or teachers actually, one thing that teachers actually teach or they equip teachers with is to understand the developmental characteristics of learners. How many teachers are ready to sit down and know the developmental characteristics of a child or of a particular learner? Now, the thing is that teachers would do that if they are well paid. You don't expect a person earning, let's say, a salary of 50K or 40K in a month in a country like Nigeria to start studying over 20 students or knowing their developmental characteristics. He will use frustration and end them. Those children are gone. So, um, those are one of the factors that would not make teachers to have this. But normally, teachers should understand the developmental characteristics of learners to effectively impart instruction and mold behavior. If they do not understand the developmental characteristics, how did this child or where is this child coming from? Where is this child coming from? What kind of home is this child coming from? The approach at which the teacher is going to use to inform the child or instruct the child or teach the child the method of approach of learning. If the teacher can understand the characteristics of these learners, they'll be able to impart instruction. One way I learned this when listening to a TED talk from Harvard, the lady said, don't you know that when the students don't like you, they can't learn your subjects? And it's a fact. Be it teenagers, be it students at the university, be it children, if they do not like you, your course will be very difficult, or your subject will be very difficult, because now you've tampered with their developmental characteristic. One of the developmental characteristics is you building interaction with them. And if you don't have a clear interaction, there are some students that just wait for you to come in. They wait for you to appear. They want to just hear your voice. And that draws them to the subject. Therefore, liking you equals liking the subject, and liking the subject, liking you equals doing the assignment because you said it, they want to do it. developmental characteristics. But a lot of teachers ignore this. Instead, they use abusive words on students. You don't grasp something quickly. I've taught a student that was impaired. He was autistic impaired. I taught that student for 3 years, and I had to be patient. I had to smile at every frustration. I had to calmly hold his hands at every, you know, disappointment. Because if I had gone outrageously with reaction, or if I had reacted outrageously, it would have resulted into something. I don't think I'll even last with the child for 3 years. I think 3 to 4 years, yeah. I don't think I'll even last with that child. But I was able to develop the child. It took time, yes, but I was able to finish my mission with the child. So, man, even that experience, I don't think I want to go back. But the patience was there. The patience was there. You need to know the developmental characteristics of the child, understand the nature of the learning process and how it takes place. If you don't do this, you cannot contribute to the theory of education. Assisting providing for individual differences among learners, because there are various differences among learners. We need to know the way Blessing might be learning is different from the way Caleb learns, and the way Pearl learns might be different from the way I learn. So we should actually have um, them. We should actually have understand individual differences among learners.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I understand it. I understand it to the level. At least being for someone to have that kind of this, someone must be very, very patient. But what about the a student that you know that is a small boy, but is um, let me put the language hyperactive sometimes, and there are some people that are very low. How can you just oppose the two of them together? Maybe blend all those kind of people. If you have those kind of people in your own class, or maybe either friends or colleagues, how can you be able to adjust to their this so that two of you can maximize get the best from
Now, the thing
inside?
is, you need to be able to spare time. That's the first thing. Secondly, hyperactive children don't really need much of your attention. They want to jump, they want to play. The people who need the attention are the slow ones. Hyperactive children, load them with work and they're happy, they will deliver it. If you can keep them busy, you have them under control. You see the ones that are very
Mm,
slow to learn, those are the ones you pay attention to. While meanwhile, you're feeding the hyperactive children more work, more loads, more information.
it
They just want to
Adijeu.
consume. And
Ogebo.
they want to play. They want to consume, they want to play, they want to run. So you give them more
into
work to do. And the hyperactive
Ogeba
children,
Sida.
hot mic, the hyperactive children, hot mic,
Uma
good mic,
and experience.
hot mic, the hyperactive children will be able to calm down because they are giving work. So you're kind of putting a balance. But you see, the slow children or the slow ones, you have to give them the attention. Teach them slowly. As you occupy the hyperactive child, you teach the slow ones slowly. Quite simple. But ensure that the hyperactive child does not leave the topic that the slow ones are doing. So give them just more work on the same topic. If they are so hyperactive, you can load them with 100 questions on the same topic and keep them busy. If that will give you time to teach the slow ones, but they're still on the same topic. If they finish it, make it 300 questions. Ensure that they use their time effectively. Since they are proactive, then it shouldn't be a problem. At least so that they'll be able to you'll be able to finish with the slow ones and take everybody together. That's how it is. So you can balance it. You can understand the individual differences among the learners. And then determine effective methods of teaching. Yes, you should change various methods of teaching. You should have various methods of teaching, using tools, using pictures, using whatever. The thing is that most schools don't actually supply that. So it's kind of complicated. It's it's kind of complicated. All right. So contribution to practice of education. Now, psychology applies its principle to practical school management. For those of you that are going to be handling schools, the contribution to practice of education. The first one is curriculum planning. How do you organize a curriculum? How do you create a curriculum? I do that. So curriculum planning, you have to apply psychology to the case that where you understand that children of this age should be able to learn this, or children of this age should be able to learn this and learn this. Okay. So how do you manage the classroom? Classroom management. You need to be able to manage a classroom. Ensure that they're not making ensure that they're not making noise, making TV and the likes. So how do you ensure such things? All right. So that's classroom management. You need to be able to manage your classroom. There are times when you get into a place and the children are just draining your energy. Oh my God, Ethel is really showing a big show tonight. All right. Ethel is killing you, right, Annie? So classroom management. There are times when you get into a classroom and the students in the classroom will just drain all your energy. Before you know, you have zero energy. You don't even have any energy left. You need to be able to understand classroom management. How are you going to manage your classroom? Using teaching aids or materials, timetabling, school administration. You need all these things are contribution of psychology to the practice of education. You need to study learners in order for you to construct a perfect timetable that will suit your school. And how then do you have a school administration? The operations of your school, the carriage and the operations of your school, and the likes like that. Okay. All right. So,
Hello, sir.
yes,
Yes, sir. I said, are you talking from the primary school level or secondary school level or from the tertiary institution level?
all the same. It's all
Okay, okay.
practice of education.
It's all applicable. Because the reason why I say that is, in the university aspect, you cannot use correctional distance. You cannot beat, you cannot flog, but it's well. But in secondary school, you can still do that. But
It depends, actually.
okay,
Flogging is prohibited.
yeah, yeah,
Lagos State just signed it
okay.
4 years ago. Was it 4 or 5 years ago? Due to the flogging of students at Ilorin and the reports of, teacher brutalizing students with the whip cane and the likes of that. They had to
Mm.
prohibit flogging in schools. But that one doesn't mean our teachers in schools will not correct the senses of students. They still slap them and flog them.
Mm.
Low key. All right, so
They
um,
Okay.
still they still flog oh.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jesus.
Mm. Because I don't know the reason why the federal government, will say they should not flog students. All of us will go primary school and secondary school. All of us stop clean now and we no die.
Eh, Actually, actually, yes, we did. But You see, the children of then and the children now are quite different.
Mm.
Yes, the children then and the children now are actually quite different. So,
Yes, the children nowadays are not strong. Like,
No, it's not even all about strong now. The
uh,
children of those days now, they are like papu, but no, oh, butter generation nowadays.
do you think so?
You're in a butter generation.
I feel
Yes, butter generation.
I feel like the children then didn't have a lot of information like the one we have now. Now we have information.
Mm.
We have a lot of information. We have information running helter skelter. Like we have overflowing information that even a child might know the distance from in the various cities of Lagos State just using a phone and can be arguing with
Yeah.
her father that no, it's not like this, it's like this because there's information on our fingers. You get on our fingertips. There are information. So it's because of the information age. That's why. So now let us understand so far what we've been able to deal with, and then um we'll have various okay, and then we'll have various discussions under this. All right. So yes. Um, the first one we talked about the modern definition. We said psychology is the science of behavior. It is defined as the study of an individual overt actions resulting from their response to stimuli. So we define psychology as the science of behavior because psychology actually it underwent various historical shifts. Psychology evolved through four definitions. First one, it was what? The science of soul.
Yeah.
Then the second, which was original definition of psych, meaning soul, Greek word psych meaning soul, and logos meaning science. So, and that was actually proposed by Democritus, who believed that everything, including humans, is composed of soul atoms. That's Democritus. But this was rejected due to the fact that we cannot objectively define the soul. It is quite strange to really define the soul. Then we had the science of mind, evolved with philosophers like Descartes. Descartes told a definition that, okay, yes, the study of the mind actually should be psychology. These were philosophers, and we cannot still objectively define the mind. We don't know where the mind is. It's not something we can define. We can't define the mind. So then we move over to the science of consciousness, based on the idea that humans are conscious of their external environment, but it was also rejected. But what about their internal environment? What about being subconscious? When you're sleeping, you're also conscious. Yes, you're awake to some point when you're asleep. You're being conscious. So we cannot really define consciousness, and that's why they had to shift philosophy from psychology. They brought it out and said, no, you know what? Let the body of philosophy step away for a moment. Let's just make psychology another body. Let psychology just be psychology. So philosophers put their hands off, and then um, in the 19th and 20th century, the German and American philosopher or psychologists then defined psychology as the study of individual behavior, which is the science of behavior, and as defined consists of, you know, overt actions that can be
Onja.
studied systematically.
Lele, ja.
So,
Unapoja.
hot mic,
Unapoja. Unapoja.
hot mic.
Moria. Okay.
All right, so um, which can be studied systematically, which that is scientifically. Now, educational psychology is the application of psychological theories, findings, or principles to the field of education. We talked about the scope of the educational psychology. All right, we said that we have learner, which is the development differences and personalities of various learners. like your learners in school. I gave an instance of the TED Talk from Harvard saying that if the student doesn't like whoever is passing the information, they would find it very difficult to understand that subject matter or that course if they don't really like that student, that teacher, or that lecturer. Whoever is passing that information, you have to first of all control the audience, or you have to first of all entice the audience with a presence, something that they like. You have to interact well. Sometimes you might be using harsh words, insults. You have to interact well where in a state where students or learners can be comfortable. And it's when you have the study or you have the knowledge of education or psychology, that's when you apply it. If you don't have the knowledge of these things, you cannot apply, right? If just like you having the knowledge of science, normal, like I mean the broad science itself, if you don't have the knowledge, you cannot apply. These things and these findings will actually make you so wise because if you're applying it in your daily life, people are going to see a difference that, oh wow, this person is different, like really well schooled, because you're applying that thing, you're solving problems like that. So it's fine. Not just taking words from people's mouth like that. So, mm, yes, then we talked about learning process. We said studying the learner, you have to study the learner's developmental characteristics, individual differences, intelligence, personality, and mental health. You don't study all those things, it's quite different. It's quite difficult for you to understand who you're teaching or who you're passing information to. You need to know. Just like when we started the class, okay, so some people suggested that, oh yes, let's have recordings, let's record the class. Actually, I was not of the idea to record the classes. I was like, okay, if they miss, they miss. And someone offered to record the class. But eventually, when she recorded the first class, it was mute. So I volunteered to record the class, making it actually accessible and easy for people that are going to watch later, or people that are going to listen to the class later. Okay? Make the environment comfortable where learners can actually speak and tell you their mind. And when you make the place so welcoming, then you have their attention. Now, learning process. All right, investigating learning theories, motivations, factors that affect learning, like rewards, punishments, class size, teacher expectations, and interactions. What are the teacher expectations? What does this teacher need, and what does he not need? Like, what is he expecting? For instance, teacher expectations can affect teacher expectations can affect learning process. The reason is quite simple. If I am putting so much pressure, oh, I expect you to have 101 in your exam. In fact, 200 over 100 in your exam. I don't need nothing less. And that is the information I'm passing. That is what I'm trying to pin down to you guys. I'm putting pressure. My expectations are quite high, which to an advantage is good. But it now depends on how I motivate you to get that. And when you don't meet up to my expectations, how do I handle such things? Can I handle the fact that, oh, the students are not meeting up to my expectations? Do I get frustrated and just throw students out? I've actually come across that. This is this will be my 8 years in the field, so of educating. So I've actually come across that multiple times, and I'm like, what? Why? You know, why actually? Why isn't this student performing? I have group of students or group of members that are in my clubs, and sometimes they don't perform. I've taught some group of members in various parts of the state, and yet give them 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they're just chilling. I do get angry. I do get frustrated, but I still try to encourage them to do better and to do more. At the same time, I'm looking for other students that will deliver, you know, because I've given you my time, so enjoy me while it lasts. You get, so once I'm off, man. Like, peace out. So that kind of thing, the teacher expectations and all that. And then we have interaction. How well does the teacher interact? Does he use harsh words? How does he interact with the student? Does he make the environment welcoming? So that is the learning process. And then we talked about evaluation, which was focusing on the learning outcomes and methods and research related to educational theory and practice. Another thing we talked about was the contribution of theory. Why? Excuse me. The contribution of theory, the why. Okay, what is the contribution of the theory of education? All right, what's the contribution of psychology of education? We have contribution of to theory. To theory, we have contribution to practice of education. So now, the contribution to theory. This aids understanding of learner development, learning process, individual differences, and effective teaching methods. And we also have the contribution to practice, the how. Okay, the how. Why do we do educational psychology? To understand learner development, learning process, individual differences, and effective teaching methods. How do we apply educational, psychology? By creating curriculum or curriculum planning. We apply it in classroom management, in timetabling, in school administration. If you do not know some students, sometimes when you get into a class, it's as if the students are the ones controlling you and not you controlling the class. Bang. You need to apply educational psychology. You need to engage them properly. You need to, ensure. Though there are some students, I'm not going to say they are unfortunate, but there are some students that are just focused on frustrating the teacher. Don't get me wrong. Yes, there are students like that. Wherever you go, they just want to. But if the students really, really respect you, they will give you that attention, at least for 5 minutes. So you're going to be able to really get control applying educational psychology in classroom management and school administration. All right. So unit three for educational for psychology of education is quite very, you know, short and beautiful. It's a very simple unit, interesting unit. And remember, people who are not matured, like when they talk about mental health. People who are not matured for the truth do not deserve the truth because the truth at that point in time might hurt them, according to psychology. So be careful of how you know, tell your learners the truth or how you yourself absorb truth. The question I throw to you all in class right now: are you matured enough to handle the truth? Sometimes you ask for the truth. I just tell me the truth. I want to hear the truth, especially ladies. Are you matured enough to hear that truth? I know the answer. The answer is no. So you need to develop that um, that part of psychology. If you're going to study deep into psychology and philosophy, you need to be able to weigh words, understand analytically what whatever person is saying, see from their perspective before coming to conclusion. Remember to add your scientific methods of knowledge, obtaining knowledge before coming to conclusion. Can you wait and process before you conclude? Can you absorb information and process that information logically and not emotionally? That is what we call being matured for truth. Some parents, like we discussed, Caleb and I, are not matured for the truth because when you tell them the truth, obviously they will break your head. Can your learners tell you the truth? Can they come to you? Can they confide in you and tell you the truth? How will you react when they tell you the truth? You've met people who can't tell their parents the truth, but they can tell teachers because the teachers have made it open for them. The teachers have shown them that they are capable of handling the truth. You don't react like one crazy person when the truth hits you. If you react like that, then you're not matured for handling truth. You don't even deserve to hear the truth. So, and children, they test. Children, teenagers, even adults, they test. When they see that, oh, if I tell this person the truth, this is the way this person is going to react. You tell them that the truth will set them free, and yet you nearly kill them for saying the truth. In fact, you punish them immediately. No, you need to tell them, oh, thank you for telling me the truth. Like in most times in my class, and once I say who actually did that and all that, what are you doing? They'll just tell me straight. So I'm playing game. Should you be doing that in class? No, stand up. Simple. And they'll stand up. Say, I'm sorry. Say, thank you for telling me the truth. Sit down. Because they feel like, oh yes, I can do this. But I'll say the next time you do it, you're not getting away with it. Now you know the truth. Now, students can perform that, or any adult that comes close to you. There's some people that when you tell them the truth, they will spread your life around town. The entire church will hear about you. Oh my God. In fact, the workplace will hear about you. Their friends will hear about you. Their classmates will hear about you. Like, they just can't keep it to themselves. Those people are not matured
E-
enough to handle the
e-
truth.
Even such matters, if you don't even tire me. Local government chairman self hear about it.
They're not matured. Psychology is saying, in order for you to understand developmental characteristics, in order for you to determine effective methods of teaching, in order for you to give a comfortable environment for your learners, you need to be emotionally matured, emotionally intelligent. Psychology of education is telling us that can you handle the truth? Do you react to truth or do you process it and calm? A child might not tell their parent the truth. A child might not tell the parent the truth, but they will tell you because they feel you will be calm, you will instruct them, and you will punish them justly. They will know why they're being punished. They will understand and they will gladly face the consequences.
I'm sorry, sir. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Uh, there is something I used to call jungle justice.
Okay.
The reason why I said that is, let's take for instance, I'm sorry, I've not seen gifts before. I used to see her pictures. She's a beautiful chap and intelligent. Now, imagine me gifts coming to report me to you
Which
that I
gift?
did something bad.
Uh,
This gift that is inside the class, I just want to bring it into our own environment present.
gift.
Now,
Not
it,
pearl
yeah,
gift. Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm just using her name as a case study.
Chineke.
So, for you to answer my question,
Okay.
so now she comes to report me to you that maybe, let's say, for instance, Caleb slapped me. And you now said, okay, go and call Caleb for me. When you called me, you you have already given me anointing of maybe like 25 slaps before you now ask, why do you slap her at first? Or what did she do to you? I'm just using that as an example. And you see that all these kind of things is very, very rampant in the society and also in the fellowship where we grew up with. And now the question is, sometimes because of maybe lodging a report, sometimes they now see the good person to be a bad person. And they now see, and the issue of jungle justice is just that you punish somebody and the other one is enjoying. Either is telling the truth or either is telling the lie. So, in the aspect of the use of jungle justice, someone as a learned person, what can you do? Because it is one person that you use to report and is another person that is doing the attacking. So, how can someone comprehend it and balance things up so that both parties will be service, will be giving judgment according to what they have done, sir? I don't know. Maybe you get my question, sir.
Yes, I do. Thank you,
Yeah.
Caleb. And that's a very interesting question. Now, the thing is, do we remember what happened to the Port Harcourt boys that were brutally beaten because they went to collect their laptop from some people who proclaimed them thieves and shouted, and then people stoned them to death and beat them? Very handsome young boys that were in their final
Mm,
years and they were brutalized. That is jungle justice.
yeah.
Fun fact is, they didn't steal the laptop. They went to collect their laptop. So people had already killed them, beaten them, bust their head on the streets, burnt them alive before they realized it was all a lie. It was in the news, the parents cried, the community police didn't do anything, the chief didn't do anything, and the chief in the community didn't do anything. As of the time of the incident, when it was still happening, nobody reacted. They just allowed the jungle justice to keep going, and they beat these young boys that were just about to finish school. That was a
Mm,
loss, and that's jungle justice. So the case is, when receiving information or receiving a report, it is your duty as an educator or whoever is receiving the report to investigate first. You don't invest, and that's what we've been talking about. You don't investigate or science, apply the method of science. You don't investigate, you don't check, you don't question, you don't observe, you don't experiment, you don't see anything, you just conclude the matter. Then if at all they can't call you an educated person, they can only say you passed through the 4 walls of school. In fact, you didn't even pass through. The school just entered you. That's all. Probably you
You know,
just,
you really pay school fees.
yeah, you paid school fees. You just passed by. That's what it means.
Mm,
That's what it means. You only just you only just pay school fees and pass through the school. It is your duty as an educator. It's your duty as an educator to investigate. If you don't investigate properly, know how true is this before you land the person 25 slaps. You should ask questions and hear from their side. I had there was an incident. There was an incident I had just recently in my place of work. Something happened to a friend of mine, and then he came to report to me that, oh, this will happen and this will happen. Another um employee had actually bullied him or something, and so like it was kind of resulting into a fight, and he came to report to me. Now, being he's my friend and I've known him for a very long time, what do you think would be the reaction? Wouldn't I just march up to whoever did that thing and start shouting and everything? But I didn't do that. Instead, I heard his own side. I saw he was bleeding and all that. We tried to treat that aspect. Fine. We did the solution first, right? So we went to treat. He was bleeding on his head, so we went to treat that. Changed his hair cover. Just like me, I plait my hair. He also plaits his hair. So we changed his hair cover and applied ointment on it and all that. Then I asked him to rest. And then I went to meet the other person. And I asked, what happened? Because now I've heard from my friend. I know his own side of the story. Then I questioned the other person, what happened? And then he told me. And after his whole explanations, nothing could justify the fact that he laid hands on another person. Nothing could justify that fact. So I made it point blank there that I made it clear that, look, you're guilty. You touched the person out of anger. That makes it physical abuse and bullying. You should apologize to him and settle the matter before it escalates. Now, most people were expecting, oh man, I would just move up there, draw him by the tie and give him some, we're gonna brawl. Like, bro, we getting in the ring and we brawling. That's what you're gonna expect. We're gonna brawl, we brawl this out. But instead, I had to just handle the matter in another way. I had to pull the matter up in another way. You understand? I had to pull the matter up in another way by investigating properly. Because if I don't investigate and I just react, I would not know his own side of the story. Now, had it been I just heard only my friend, I would have applied jungle justice. I'm also from Port Harcourt. It's something I would just move somewhere. You know, whatever I did to that guy, I'll just do it to him back. Apply some touch of madness. As Nigerians, we all have our own touch of madness. Apply some touch of madness. Let him see the other beast or the other side of man. You get? But no, because I have the knowledge, I have to apply. I can't be an educator and not lead by example. So that's the thing. And there was peace later on, even if they're still going to be having little strife. Later on, the other person was telling me that when could be the best time to apologize. I said, you can meet him anytime. He's calm already. Because I've spoken to my friend. He's calm already. Don't worry. You guys should just settle it. So, if not, nobody would have walked in that place that day. We would tear the place down. Shut down everybody. But instead, we avoided that. Now, that's the power of education. That's the power of what studying can do. That's the power of what applying your knowledge can do. Not letting the emotions come before the knowledge. Not letting the emotions get to you, or not letting the emotions come before your knowledge or your study. That's what it can do. So, as for jungle justice, you need to investigate properly. What you might see as black, I might see as blue, and Yemisi can see as white, and someone else can see as red, and the other can see as yellow. We can see from different perspective. In order for me to be in your shoes, I have to first wear your shoe and know how it fits, know how tight it is. So if I can't see your perspective, I need to ask questions and go to your own area of perspective and see for myself. Because I can never truly know what a person feels or what a person is thinking about, no matter the amount of psychology you study. But you can always create a room comfortable for them to come out and tell you their deepest secrets and tell you how they feel. If you don't make that, especially where you be doing this with educational psychology and child psychology and human psychology, if you don't study it properly, you will not know how to really handle and manage people. People are difficult. All right, so any other questions? Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any tips of how to control oneself, like when angry? Like, here's an example what you said just now. How can, like, how to control anger? Do you have any tips you can give? When one is in a classroom setting and a learner pisses you off, and I just don't know. Do you have any tips, please?
Yes, for things like that, if you're in a room and learners are biting you or pissing you off, first you need to do is give yourself space from every learner because ordinarily seeing their clothes can piss you off as of that time. So you need to just excuse yourself and give yourself space. Um, what I do is mostly, you will learn this in child psychology because they are the ones that can really, really annoy you, or human psychology. You will also learn this here. The reason is if you don't give yourself space, you might react just by mere sight alone. Seeing a person in your space, until a person is in your space, the person can step on your toes. So you need to give yourself space off that person. A person can only come close to you. When a person is close to you, that's when they can step on you. If you give yourself space, okay, you give yourself time to breathe, time to process, time to breathe, and process. That's the first thing. You flee. If you know you don't want to react, you leave the place. And if the person is coming close to you, or the person is very adamant and coming close to you, then you know the person really needs a fight or something. But the first thing you do is breathe and leave that place, because you can react at any time. We are humans, and humans are emotional creatures, and we can do anything at any given time.
I do this in particular, like I step out of the class. Sometimes like I go to sit down and breathe in and out and all. But people just laugh at me like, what's wrong with this one? What is she doing? And I try to explain to them that oh I'm actually I this is just a technique that I use to like calm myself down when the class is rowdy and all. Thank you so much.
Yes. Another thing is, if you need to let the student understand. Sometimes it could be from the student, it could be from where they are coming from. You need to let them understand.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another question, sir.
Okay.
Should I go ahead?
Okay. 1 second. Let me just finish it. Any
Yeah,
one
okay.
second. You need to let them understand sometimes that what they are doing is wrong. You need to communicate, especially if the student keeps on doing it over and over again. You need to, if you're stepping outside, you can call the student aside and speak to the student, or you speak to the student there in the class. If you see the student is a stubborn, adamant, according to child psychology, most teenagers tend to want to draw attention to themselves in age of um, 12, 13, 14. They are vibrant and they want to draw attention to themselves. Age of 15, 16, well, not so much. At that time, they're looking at the opposite, sex, and trying to know how they can fit in. That's 15, 16. 17, 18, they are actually focused about how they can be outstanding, or how they can come out in society, or how they can represent themselves and be popular and all that. So different age brackets with different behaviors. And you see a person is around the age of that 15, 16, the way you're going to relate with them, since they are vibrant for attention and all that, you actually have to pull them out of where they can get embarrassed and tell them, warn them, and tell them the next time they try it, you're going to embarrass them in front of the class, and they are scared of it. Age 15, 16 don't want to be embarrassed. They don't. They hate it like anything. 17, 18 are actually being focused on. They are well matured, focused on their outcome in life and all that. Most of them, they are quiet. But you see the 12, 13, 14, I, they can frustrate you. Especially the 14, 13, 14, or those that are just clocking. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of energy. They are everywhere. So you communicate with them or with different students and let them know what they're doing is wrong. If not, if you don't let them know what they're doing is wrong, you'll be tagged as a person that's always, stepping out of the class. So that's where classroom management comes in. After you've spoken to them and you've warned them, the next time you can put it out public or boldly and let them see and understand the teacher. I've had experiences like that before. And what I do is that I can send the student out of the class. If I've warned you before privately or personally and tell you how stupid you are, and yet you still behave stupid in the class, again, I was respecting you before, and you ought to give me that respect back. Because, first of all, respect is reciprocal. So, you, the teacher, have to give the student the respect. Now, we in Africa, we take it the other way around. We feel like the student gives us the respect first. No, no, no. If you want to earn respect, you have to give respect. So, you give them the respect. When they see that you've given them the respect, they will automatically want to give you that respect. It's just human behavior. All right, when you do a favor for a person, the person will want to return that favor back. Well, not all of them. Well, not all, but the same is just normal human behavior. So if you see that they cannot handle the respect, or they can't give you that respect back, then they can't be in your presence. You won't all the time be leaving the class for them. They, at some point, will leave the class for you and they'll be embarrassed. So you need to let them know. If I've told you how stupid you are in private and you still act stupid in class, I'll let the whole class know how stupid you are. Yes, Caleb.
Hmm. Actually tried doing this once and he started crying in class. Oh, okay.
Emotional blackmail.
Felt knelt down and started praying and crying in class. Like I felt like I did something bad or something.
It's emotional blackmail. And a lot of teenagers they do that. How old was this person?
Okay, okay.
Looking from
Then
Caleb, hot mic,
Hello, sir.
hot,
Sir?
hot mic, hot mic.
Okay, sure.
Any, how old was this person or this student?
he's a grade two learner. He's actually 8.
8 and is already behaving crazy. They want to, oh, 8 years old. They will blackmail you, emotional blackmail, make you feel sorry for them. Don't follow. Hey.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Caleb, let's hear your question.
I'm sorry, I have a question. If somehow I've been on this life from secondary school, this. So sometimes there's no way in Yoruba, as they used to say, there's no way you can say you want to walk without your head being shaken. Now, I find myself most of the time, maybe in my place of work or so, some things will happen. I just believe that right from the time I came into secondary school, I decided that I'm not going to report anybody. If you do anything for me, if it's justice, I'm going to find either I report you or else in secondary school. But if you face your own punishment, but instead for me to go and be reporting to one teacher or the other, because I went to a public school. But as time goes on, when I finished, I started working. Some people were not taking that because I was closer to the director because we came from the same state. Ah, don't tell Caleb anything. I will just tell them everybody should live your life. And sometimes I've been queried because of that singular act that something like this is going on. You can, and there was even a case that I was seriously bullied, and I said, enough of this nonsense. Is it because I refused to talk and nobody bribed me, or what is the problem going on? Why are they just trying to play on my intelligence? I know what I'm doing. Later, we trying to resolve it, but the person that did it, that did that wicked act, is a friend of mine. But I just choose not to disgrace him outside because if I disgrace him in the presence of the person, they may not trust themselves again till the end of this world. So I, as a person, I just believe one thing that even if me and my wife are having issues, we just keep everything mute and avoid distractions outside. So that's what I've been using to develop myself and training myself personally. But the issue there is sometimes you offend me, I keep quiet. And I don't want, most of the time, I don't even pay for third party at all at all. It's my own deepest secret. People will look at me sometimes and say, are you a cultist or are you evil? Are you diabolical? What is your intention? What is your this? I'll just tell them. That's just the way I just see it. And I try to be a little bit confidential. People now start criticizing me. Am I doing the right way or just leave everybody to their own space and see how their own life is? That's my question, sir.
Okay, so if I get you clearly, you are stating that you are more reservative, you keep to yourself, and you don't like your
Yes.
problems being shared outside, right?
It's not that I'm a gentle person,
Yeah,
but I don't just want that aspect to,
yeah, so you like the privacy and you keep to yourself.
yeah.
Okay. So it could be most times people who keep to themselves or are well reserved could be acting from, they call it traumatic experience in development
Yeah, yeah,
psychology,
yeah.
developmental psychology. So it could be the past of the person, and could be affecting your actions. This was registered in your subconscious. Something must have triggered that in your past, and you don't want to confront the situation with the person. Take, for instance, now you have a problem with a person, and you keep it inside, and you don't just want to, you know, confront that person or tell the person or say it out to the person. The thing is, you're going to keep it in your mind, whether you like it or not. And if you feel like you've forgotten that problem, it will register in your subconscious. Anytime you see the person, you'll be triggered to remember all those thoughts about the person because you've not cleared it out of your chest. It's in your subconscious. And something deep down inside of you will be getting angry. Psychology tells us that communication is one of the best key to release tension. If you're communicating and you have good interaction privately, since you don't want it to spread out, if you communicate a person should do cause you harm or a person should hurt you, and you communicate, you know, privately, and you tell the person you don't like it, people absorb such information. First of all, they take it as a threat or as insult, and they might want to react back. But the thing is that when they are calm, they process that information. You know, most people they are hostile to the fact that they can react in, why are you telling me this? If you don't like it, what's my business? What should I do about it? What should I, you get, they will only react at that point, but they will still go back, relax, and process the information because you've registered it already in their brain that you don't like it. So deep down somewhere within them, they know you don't like that thing. And if the person truly is a friend, or if the person truly knows you, the person would not want to repeat such thing. But the thing about developmental psychology is that you've communicated the problem and you've cleared it off your chest. So now it's not going to trouble you anymore. Okay, so it's whoever you give that information to, whoever person you confronted, that is going to carry that problem along. That's what's going to happen. So, if it's in your place of work, you have to let them know because your work environment cannot be toxic for you. If it's toxic for you, you cannot work perfectly or produce or be more productive in your work environment. So your work environment has to be a positive place, a place where you can have positive attitude to work and not negative attitude, where you cannot, be productive in your workplace. That's very terrible. Okay. So if you're having problems at the workplace, you need to let them know. At some point, keeping to yourself might not really help situations. You just need to confront the person. Now, the problem is the audacity or the the boldness to meet this, to confront the person. You can start. You can take a step by. You want to see the person or chatting the person. Some people don't like talking one on one. You can chat the person up and give the person a message. You can drop a message. You can just put a voice note or something. They will listen to it. And because you don't want attention, we should also, in emotional intelligence, we should also know when attention comes, how we're going to handle these tension that comes with attention. A lot of tension that comes with attention. And there's some people that don't like attention to themselves. Me sometimes when I get into problems, there are lots of problems, and I see that, oh, he's drawing attention. I'm like, ooh, wow, why are you guys following me? Am I a celeb or what? Damn. Like you've been watching me for long. Wow, bro. I'll like, so you've been studying me? I turn it to a joke because I don't want to be affected. So I make you feel like, okay, you've been studying me and keeping me in mind. I must be a celebrity for you to keep me in mind like that. Wow, I occupy the space in your heart. Man, that's true love. I just kind of joke about it and all that. So You should learn to confront the person, Caleb. Uh, Pearl and Yemisi, are you in class? I hope no one. I hope none of you is sleeping. Hey, Pearl. Oh,
Yes,
oh, yeah.
yes.
Yemisi is here. Okay.
I have a very quick question.
Okay, Caleb. So, can you confront the person? If you can't, then psychologically, it's not settled until you confront the person. Yeah, at some point, you need to put it out your chest. Yes, Annie.
It's about a particular method that I use. Like I've tried it quite a number of times and it has worked for me very well. Sometimes when my students do have disagreements in class or when they tend to fight, I just like put them aside and I make them face each other. Then while they look at each other, I make sure they don't take their eyes off each other. They continue to stare at each other until like then the next thing they will just burst out laughing. Then I would ask them, why are you laughing? They'd be like, ah, he doesn't look like the person I know. His face has changed and all of that. I've actually used it to settle a lot of quarrels in my class, and I don't know why it works actually. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of. I don't know if it's. I just don't know. Do you have any idea of that?
If it is for child psychology, yes, it will work because the child's mind is still innocent. When they get into teenage stage, they might even be keeping malice. They might joke, but they'll still be keeping a little bit of malice. For adults, it's not going to work at all because our minds as adults are already polluted completely. They're already polluted. So it might not really work. But for children, just they're quite still innocent. They're quite still innocent. So yes, now it's the same thing, especially when they're opposite genders. Especially when they're opposite genders. The person who you feel like you're quarreling with, the person who you feel you're quarreling with or you have problems with, looking at the person eye to eye for a very long time, you're creating various images of the person. I would have done this to this person. I would have done this to this person. And funny enough, later on you discover that it's just so funny that this is the person you wanted to beat and destroy, and the teacher is asking the person to stand very close. The child will laugh. It's funny. But what you've done is actually a method. I don't know if you've studied child psychology before, but yes, it is. Sometimes they even tell children to face the wall if that actually makes them a bit sad. While others are learning, they're just gum to the wall or facing the other side of the wall as a punishment. Then, if they're having strife, you're asking them to not face the wall, to face the person they're having strife with. Psychologically, you are already solving that problem because they are passing information, even with just normal eyesight or eye contact. They are passing information to each other with just eye contact.
Mm, thank you.
But have you studied that before?
No, not at all. I just because when I look at myself a lot of times when I start my reflection in the mirror, sometimes I just start laughing. So I just thought since I could use the same method again.
Whoa. You look at yourself in the mirror and you start laughing. Wow, that's good self-love there, man. Yeah, man, I feel that. It's good love. Love of oneself. That's good. That's wonderful. But why do you laugh, Annie?
Well, maybe I just wonder why is my neck so long, why is my head so big, those kind of stuff. Then I burst out laughing. Then I imagine a lot of things. I'm actually an introvert, So like I try to put myself in their shoe. Just like you said one does not know how a person feels. You said something about shoes tonight. I mean, like if you're not, you cannot know exactly how someone is feeling except you are in their shoes. So I just try to put myself in their shoe. I felt most cases like that. Like I just try to put myself in the shoes of that person, and I just don't know, things that work for me during childhood is just what I apply at work also, and it works immensely.
It's actually great. Introverts, what do they call them? The chosen ones, right? They are very, very highly intelligent because there's a lot of imagination that goes on in the mind of an introvert. So, yep, you guys are the chosen one. I used to be an introvert, crazy one at that, complete introvert. I had to learn, you know, how to mix with people and go out to parties and all that with the help of my brother. Said I was boring, so uh, I had to do something about it, start moving out and all that, reducing my time spent alone, time spent with people, interacting with people, especially facing the other gender. That was a difficult one for me before. Anyways, here I am, and here we are. Okay, so mm, yeah, that concludes Unit 3 for us. I have some questions for us, but these questions are for you, actually. Exam is coming close, I expect. Yes, as from next week, I'm going to be setting 40 questions per unit, and we'll just be dealing with your questions and dealing with answers that are coming out from that unit so that we don't leave any part untouched because now is speed that we need to apply since your timetable is out, which I don't believe is correct because they cannot set 8 o'clock as or 8:30 as an exam time. I think that's an error. So that can be set as an exam time. That's an error. Big one at that. All right, so any questions so far? Let me see, do we have questions? Pearl, do we have questions? Pearl, I feel like Pearl is sleeping. Something tells me Pearl is sleeping.
Sir, I'm not.
No, no, not you. Let me see. Not you, not you. All right, do we have questions?
No, not for me.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to drop down questions that you can derive from what we just learned. These questions you can get them from what we've done so far. Okay, so mm, quite easy questions. Actually what we've done. There are 20 questions derived from that unit. So yeah, that's going to be our practice for unit, sorry, from next week. I'll just be tackling 40 questions from unit 1, excuse me, 40 questions from unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. I'll give you guys, we'll tackle the answers and like that because, you know, and I'm sorry, but in every course that we're dealing with, you might be facing close to, depending on the unit, if the units are 10, you might be facing close to 400 questions like that from me because I don't want any part of any unit to be left out. So the best way we're going to learn is with question and answers from every unit, different unit, and we'll just be answering the questions and discussing more on it as we go further. We'll break it down into various sections. We answer questions, explain, answer questions, explain, answer questions, explain. That's how it's going to be next week. So we should get ready. And I don't know if you guys are going to be applying extra hour for your study time. Exams are around the corner, so if you're good for that, well, I'm down as well. Okay, so if there are no further questions, kindly rack your brain on those questions that I just dropped down from this unit, and let's see how you know you can round up. For example, if I'm to explain, we know that number one is to trace the etymological origin of the term psychology and explain the first definition derived from it. We know that the explanation is that it focused mainly on psych, which is soul, and logos, which is science leading to the science of soul. That's the etymology of psychology. And the second one says describe four distinct definitions that psychology has adopted throughout its history and state the reason each earlier definition was rejected. The first one was soul, mind, consciousness, and behavior. And they rejected soul, mind, and consciousness because there was no objective definition of the soul, mind, and consciousness. But they accepted behavior later. So, said in what century did psychology achieve the status of an independent discipline, and what key characteristics define its modern definition? The thing that was in the 19th and 20th century, just like we have in our summary, the key characteristic being a science of behavior that can be observed, verified, and measured systematically. So, quite easy, according to all what we've stated. How is behavior in the context of modern psychology defined in the unit? They said behavior consists of overt actions. This was highlighted in your unit. Behavior consists of overt actions that are as a result of individuals' response to stimuli. And explain the influence of Greek philosopher Democritus on the first definition of psychology. Democritus claims that everything is composed of body atoms and soul atoms and led early psychology to focus on the studying of soul of the people. Then you know the second scientist that rejected that, that was Desates. Desates talked about the science of mind, but all these things were not objectively studied. So yeah, I just answered the first five because this psychology part is actually quite very easy. So yes, you can rack your brain on the other questions that are there. At the meantime, I'm going to stop the record now.